Good afternoon or good evening. Welcome to the City of Opa-locka virtual workshop in response to COVID-19 under the guidelines of the state of emergency that was issued by the Governor Ron DeSantis, Executive Order number 2069. The following rules that we ensures that the city commission meetings and any other necessary public meetings governed by the state of Florida, public laws will provide for necessary notice, allowing for public participation and are conducted in the sunshine. Therefore, these meetings are being recorded. You can access these recordings at YouTube, the City of Opa-locka YouTube page. Feel free to subscribe. This is a platform in which residents are able to provide their public comment by emailing the city clerk, or also there's a special email address we actually developed called public comments at opalockafl.gov. Please make sure all of your public comments are sent there so that you can stay engaged within the city of Opa-locka. Madam Attorney, is there anything else I need to cover?
No, sir, nothing else.
All right, with that said, this meeting was called in response to COVID-19. As many of you know, we are dealing with two crises here in the city, our financial crisis and also COVID-19. And in response to being active and proactive to the community, commissioners decided to ensure that we have weekly meetings and updates from staff and be on the same page that we're able to move forward with this government. So that is the purpose of today's workshop. Please feel free to provide your public comments so that we can ensure that we have an engaged citizenry that can help us steer the city and where we need to go during this time of crisis. With that said, Commissioner Kelly, would you lead us in invocation? Commissioner Kelly, you got to unmute your mic.
Our Father and our God, we thank you for all of your many blessings. We thank you for life, health, and strength. We thank you for the city of Opa-locka. Continue, God, to watch over us, give us wisdom, knowledge, understanding for those things which are pleasing in your sight. In Jesus' name we do pray, amen.
Amen. Amen.
Commissioner Burt, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And would you stand?
One nation, under God,
with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Madam Flores, Madam Clerk, do we have any public comments for today?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right, moving on to the discussion items, the city's response to coronavirus. As I stated in our welcoming remarks, we want to make sure that we're open and responsive to the city needs at this moment. For all those, could you please mute your mic? I'm hearing some background noise until called upon. At this moment, as you know, we are having a very serious rate of infections in the city of Opa-locka. We've called upon staff to provide us with an update about what's going on in the city's response, and also for the commission to brainstorm, think through ideas, and make sure we're on the same page when it comes to responding to this crisis. So with that said, Mr. Manager, I'll give you the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, commissioners, and staff. As of today, the city of Opa-locka has approximately 198 COVID-19 positive cases. And these cases are self-reported and reported through hospital facilities that individuals attend, and based on testing results and the address and zip code that's used, these cases are developed. I do want to make it very noteworthy that more likely than not that the COVID positive rate is higher than 198, because until the city starts their own self-testing program, basically these cases are only being reported based on individual hospitalization and individual testing results. As we all know, as an update, Miami-Dade County has opened up their green spaces, their parks, and various other green space areas as of Wednesday. The county mayor in his order allowed cities to be more restrictive as far as the reopening of parks and green spaces and other municipal government entities. The city of Opa-locka has made a determination to keep our green spaces closed because of our COVID positive rate, because of stay at home issues and curfew related issues that we're dealing with collectively. We have been in contact since our last meeting, commission meeting. I've been in contact with the county and state Department of Public Health in regards to coordinating testing at our senior facilities, as well as coordinating a testing site at Shabundy Village. I'm currently awaiting updates in regards to that. We have asked a private entity to look into the cost of independent testing, if the city was to sponsor testing themselves and the cost of that. We were looking at 6 to 12 people per hour at a rate of $100 to $120 per person, which amounts to about $18,000 per day if the city was to take on the financing themselves for testing. The key kind of questions that I kind of want commission and staff input on are 2 or 3 subjects. One subject is looking at our current emergency orders to see if we want to be more restrictive than the current county and state order that has been issued. The state order is effective May 6th. To make noteworthy, the state order specifically precludes Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties due to the high COVID positive rates. So the reopening Florida plan includes all counties except those 3 counties. The Miami-Dade County Mayor is attempting to gradually open up our green spaces, parks, beaches, golf courses in various areas. I know there has been some concern in regards to our residents wearing masks on an everyday basis, the sanitation, various sanitation issues that may occur in local grocery stores and other businesses. So I kind of want to talk about that. And also I want to talk about in regards to testing, what demographic do we want to focus on? The recommendations that I've been provided that's been consistent is 65 and older that are symptomatic. That has been the recommendation from the county and state Department of Public Health, as well as other sources that I've spoken to in regards to testing. We are enforcing curfew in a very stringent way. The police department constantly has been educating our residents on the stay-at-home orders and curfew. Just last night, we had a large fight in the Back Blues area, 30 to 40 individuals fighting back there. Police department was able to quell that issue and bring it to a conclusion without making any arrests and trying to do and educate and not incarcerate our residents, but educate. But of course, it comes to a point where we have to get our curfew under control. We have to be able to sustain ourselves in order to lower this COVID positive rate individually as a city and make sure we have proper provisions. As far as masks, we've ordered multiple orders of masks. I know we had 2,000 masks come in. We have an order of 2,000 masks that are out. Currently coming in. The masks have been coming in at a very slow rate. So when we put in these orders, we're not getting 2,000 masks in the order. They're trickling in a couple hundred at a time as the masks become available, because as everybody's aware, there's a shortage of masks. I know there's been some concern shared about distributing masks to residents. I'm open at looking at that option and distributing masks, at least 1 mask per resident, or at least have a mask available for the police department to provide people masks on the street, as well as have a mask distribution, doing our food distribution. So I want to hear about those ideas to see if that's something the commission is recommending, so we can make the proper budgetary adjustments. A large concern that I have that the state has shared with me and I equally share is our disaster budget. We're currently eating into our disaster budget, dealing with COVID-19. Yes, majority, if not all costs are reimbursable, but we have to wait for reimbursements coming in, and then we're going shortly into hurricane season. So I want to be cautious as far as using these funds and waiting on pending reimbursements coming in and going into another, natural disaster season that the state of Florida experiences. If there are not any questions, I have the police department provide an overview. Chief Dobson is on tonight. I have him share an overview of how we're enforcing curfew, how we're dealing with our businesses, and kind of his views as far as enforcement of the orders go, because as you know, both the code enforcement department and the police department are responsible for enforcing these orders. So we want to kind of talk through that. And then we'll take on any questions that anybody may have and then open up the conversation for any other subjects the commission may want to talk about. Chief Dobson. Chief Dobson.
Yes, sir. I was trying to unmute it. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commission. Yes, the follow-up basically what the manager was just speaking about. With the manager's approval, we've assigned an additional 4 to 5 officers that's been working on the night shift from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. That's helped us out a lot with the curfew. For the most part, everyone has been in compliance. There's been very few arrests, but we have made some arrests with the curfew, and those have been either repeat offenders or people that just not want to conform with the curfew itself. As far as businesses, the businesses that's the non-essential and essential businesses actually have been in compliance. We really haven't had any issues at all with businesses complying, the ones that are supposed to be open or closed. A week or so ago, we had some issues with 1 or 2 of the bars, but they were actually closed because they wanted to have people inside drinking. So those were closed and reports and things like that were written. But besides that, we've had some traffic increased through the city during nighttime after the curfew, but not stopping, but just transferring through the city. But overall, the residents have been in compliance, businesses have been in compliance, and we really haven't had any issues. We've gone back to a 0 tolerance with loitering. I know that was a concern, so we've been day shift and night shift with people loitering or social distancing outside of some of the stores and businesses and things like that. But overall, everyone has been in compliance with what we've asked them to do with the rules.
Thank you, Chief Dobson. I would kind of open up, let's get an update from our Public Works Department. Mr. Austin, if you can kind of provide an update of the activities for our Public Works Department, another essential department of our community, how we're dealing with flooding. And I would ask to provide an update how we're dealing with flooding, because over the last couple of weeks, we had some major rains and we've had some today. So I kind of want to get an overview of flooding, how our gutters are being cleaned, how we're maintaining our city streets and our infrastructure during this time.
During this time, we are keeping essential folks on our pump stations. We are dealing with water leaks as they are reported from Miami-Dade County, as they are continuing with the meter replacement program. As it relates to the pothole program, has been temporarily suspended because we do not have enough time in the day to spread the asphalt that we acquire on our truck. So we've temporarily suspended the pothole program. As it relates to stormwater issues, we have 2 agenda items going to be coming forward on the 27th for approval. That's going to be addressing the flooding on Shahrazad and flooding on Alibaba. Those are 2 very large projects that we would like to get completed until the consultant company is on board to give us a full assessment and priority listing of how we are going to proceed with the flooding concerns around the city. That's it for what
Thank
we're
you.
doing right now.
And Mr. Austin, I know due to COVID-19, a lot of our RFPs that are out there have been extended. Can you speak on that? Because I'm sure a key question that's going to be asked of you and myself is where are we at with selecting a consultant and still doing the infrastructure plan? I know we still have the mayor and commission's top 4 priorities that we still have to deal with. One of those being dealing with infrastructure and our stormwater. And so we still need to have progress in regards to dealing with our infrastructure. So let's speak on the delays that we've had based due to COVID-19 and when we're slated to actually select a consultant.
Well, the RFPs are going to be closing in May, mid-May. We're going to be closing the RFP for the consultant services. Until such time, we're going to also be receiving it electronically instead of a formal bid opening. It's going to be done via Zoom. Applications are pouring in, and we're hopeful to select qualified individuals to get these projects going.
Thank you. I appreciate that update. So we've had our 2 major departments, police and kind of public works, provide a kind of generalized overview. I would open up the floor for any questions. Before that, we are looking at a phased reopening of City Hall. Our IT director is looking into a temperature scanner that could be mounted on the door that can measure the temperature of 30 individuals at once. So do mass temperature scanning of people coming into the building. So we're looking at that technology and we're looking to implement safeguards, put safeguards in place in order to at least start doing a regimental reopening of City Hall. Also, I would like to share with you all, due to budgetary constraints, we are evaluating our personnel numbers right now in order to maintain the proper social distancing within the building. As everybody knows, we have employees now working 4-hour shifts in order to make sure that we do not have a mass number of individuals in the building to have proper spacing. The city has been covering 40 hours of payroll per employee, except essential services, since March. Will be coming to a conclusion in mid-May because the city would not be able to sustain that. We did it in a temporary fashion, as other cities have done, in order to compensate employees and not affect employees that are working due to COVID-19. But we are looking at potential furloughs, potential reduction in workforce, and potential downgrading of status from employees from full-time to part-time status in order to make sure we have the proper manpower numbers in the building and reduce staffing due to COVID-19. I want to make sure that the commission and staff know that it is my main priority to have staff working and not to furlough staff, not to lay off staff. So we are being very creative in looking at least keeping people on the payroll and reducing them from a full-time to a part-time status. So at least they have gainful employment and they're able to draw unemployment for those other 40 hours that they're not receiving, they're able to apply for unemployment benefits that the governor's office has made available due to COVID-19. So we're doing this in a phased-in manner. We provided formal notice to the union. We've invited for impact bargaining to discuss layoffs and reduction of workforce. And we are going to provide staff enough time where they're able to file their unemployment claims and get additional funds and revenue started prior to implementing these changes. So we're looking at doing this sometime in mid-May, second, third week in May, after conference with the union and actually going through the list and kind of scrubbing it on multiple occasions to make sure that our staffing is on point, that we still have vital services to operate our city, and that we're being physically responsible. If there are no other questions, if there are no questions from me about anything that I've said, I would like to open the floor for questions, and as well as additional input from the commission and staff, if staff have input to provide. As the mayor always shares, this is an open forum. I'm looking for input from commissioners as well as staff members. If staff members have ideas or things they want to discuss, this is an open venue to do that, because this is the purpose of the workshops, to come together to make a collective decision on behalf of the residents of the city of Opa-locka. Thank you. Mayor, I turn it over to you.
All right, thank you, Manager Pate, and I appreciate the updates from Chief Dobson and our Director Austin. I will reserve my comments after the rest of the commission. So the floor is open at the moment for any questions or comments on all that was covered. I know it was quite a bit that was covered, and I'll just do a very quick review of those topics and make sure that people are aware. We talked about, number one, how we as a city will respond to the opening up that's happening at a federal, state, and county level, and what does that mean for the city of Opa-locka. What we want to do in terms of testing options. We have two on the floor in terms of going with Miami-Dade County for a walk-up testing site, and also paying for a private site. And then there was the chief brought up information about the curfew. We have issues with public works and pothole patcher being suspended and addressing these flooding issues, a phased reopening of City Hall, and also addressing our personnel concerns. So with that brief summary of the general topics, to the commission, feel free to raise your hand, acknowledge, so you can ask the questions and have a conversation. All right, Commissioner Bass. Make sure you unmute your mic, Commissioner Bass. All right.
How's that?
There we go. We can hear you.
Good evening, everyone. I just have a quick question for Mr. Austin. I didn't quite understand what he was saying, why the pothole program was suspended. It kind of went over my head, so I want him to talk a little bit about that. And also, he also mentioned about the number of applicants that they received for the consulting position. But I was kind of curious, do you have like a roundabout number that came in, Mr. Austin?
First, addressing your concern, Commissioner Bass, the pothole patcher, being the fact that we're only working 4 hours per week, we have a very large number of things that we have to address on a daily basis. Litter collection and other items in and around the city. It would not be sustainable for us to try and collect asphalt, which takes approximately an hour and a half from the time we start working to run the pothole patcher down to the plant to get the asphalt, and then come back and try to spread that within a 2-hour period. So as a result, we suspended that program until we referred back to 8-hour days. As it relates to the the number of applicants. I could see emails because they're being done through a web repository. I could see emails on a daily basis for candidates that are applying for the RFQ, but they have not been quantified as yet. We could quantify that number and get back to you at the next meeting, or we could pass it through the manager's office.
Thank you, Mr. Austin. I'm just elated that it's at the point where you don't know off the top of your head how many. I think that's a good sign that we're heading somewhere that others want to come and be a part of Opa-locka's family. I think that's an awesome thing. And I would like to tell our city manager, you spoke a little bit about some of the decisions that needs to be made as it relates to reopening our city. It's a daunting task, but it has to be done. I am sitting here and I'm just in a place of awe because these decisions need to be made and they need to be done almost overnight, but still taking a snail's pace to accomplish them. So we're here and we're gonna fight through this and we're gonna get it done. Thank you.
All right. Does anyone have any comments on the pothole patcher or the RFP for consultants?
Mayor,
I'm gonna jump in on that one real quick.
Mr.
It's
Mayor,
on- yes, Commissioner Kelly, is it on those items?
on the pothole,
Yeah, go ahead.
if I heard Mr. Austin correctly, because of the time frame of 4 hours, it's not feasible or doable to do what's necessary to accomplish that. Is that what I heard him say?
That's correct, sir.
Okay, I to the manager, I have a challenge with that, given we bought that pothole patcher to deal with these holes before hurricane season comes. And I understand staffing is an issue, but from my perspective, you got to figure out a way, at least one day a week or something, to get that pothole patcher functioning. And with the rain we had today, you know, we always going to have challenges, but that was one reason why we purchased it. So I don't know what else. I heard you say you stopped it because you have to pick up and do other things, and I'm not disputing that, but to the manager, we got to figure out a way, at least one day a week while we're in this crisis, to deal with potholes. Particularly, you still have some areas that have some significant potholes that we need to address before we even get to hurricane season, quote unquote. We're already having rain. We had a lot of rain the other day and rain again today. So from my perspective, I'd like you to take a look at revisiting those hours or time frame, because I think that's important. I mean, I understand why you may have done it temporarily initially, because everything was just kind of reactionary, but we need to figure out a way, Mr. Manager, to get that pothole patcher functioning at least once a day or once a week, I mean, with the staff. And that was one of the reasons why we want to make sure we had more than one person could run some of the stuff, so that we have people be able to multitask. So I have a big concern with that, hearing that it's not functioning. I can't understand why in the past, maybe not, but from my perspective now and to my colleagues, that is pretty important to me at this point, that we get that pothole patcher out there, particularly some of these areas that we all know that needs to be addressed before we get to hurricane season. It may be a priority, and if that's the case, you know, you let the commission know, or Mr. Manager, I guess ultimately you'll make the decision. But from my perspective, that needs to occur. That needs to occur. That's all I had on that particular issue, Mr. Mayor.
Through the mayor.
Mr. Pate?
Commissioner Kelly, thank you for your comments, and I appreciate everybody's concerns in regards to pothole patching. The city, as I talk to my fellow city managers on our Tuesday calls, right? We're looking at the new normal, right? We're going into this new normal. COVID-19 is something that's not going to go away, and probably going to have a larger outbreak during flu season. And saying that it's the intent of the manager's office to have employees back on 8-hour regular days in the next 2 weeks. I will take your comment into consideration, Commissioner Kelly, and I would ask and direct Mr. Austin to develop a plan to do pothole patching at least once a week moving forward until we're phased in to regular 8-hour working days sometime this month.
All right. Anyone else have any comments about this pothole patching? All right. Mr. Manager, public works employees, are they considered non-essential employees?
According to how you look at it, public works employees, according to their position, are considered essential employees. And it's based on the work and the task they have done. So we do, yes, public works is working 4-hour days, but we do call staff in after work hours and beyond the 4-hour work period to do additional work. So all staff in the public works department is just not working 4 hours. We are adjusting schedules. You have some staff that are working 6 hours, some staff that are working 4, and it staggers based on what's going on. The biggest concern that we have is the access to PPE, okay? The police department has a huge burn rate, and our administrative staff has a huge burn rate of PPE. And I'm using lingo. Burn rate is the amount of use, right? As well as public works. So as we are getting this protective PPE in, we are making adjustments as far as hours of work and duties and responsibilities of staff. So we are looking at that moving forward. The biggest issue we run into, Mr. Mayor, is the union, right? The union does not want us to put employees out there without proper PPE, especially in the public area, especially with the rate of COVID-19 within the city and the public exposure that our public works department has, as well as our police department. So that's a huge concern that has been brought up. And I'm trying to be as safe as possible in addressing that and making sure we have proper PPE available so we can kind of extend the hours out for our public works department.
So we have essential employees in the public works department working 4-hour days, but being paid 8 hours.
So, Mr. Austin, can you speak on that, sir?
And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I'm trying to figure out, I know that roads, streets, and infrastructure projects are essential functions of a government, and something that we need to respond to. And I know that our public works are the main force for doing that. So I'm a little confused as to why they would, as essential employees, be working 4-hour days to the detriment of essential services that we need to do to ensure that our city has the basic infrastructure to run as a city.
And Mr. Mayor, so projects are still going on. We still have remodeling going on. We still have various activities going on. The things that were suspended, such as the pothole patching program, was due to time constraints, and then spreading our public works department out to do the things that have been upticked, such as illegal dumping, such as our food drive that we have on Tuesdays, as well as other facility related issues that they need to focus on. The biggest issue of our public works department was PPE, and I had to make a determination in regards to that due to concerns brought up by the union in regards to public works. But we are, like I said, we are getting equipment in, we are phasing it in. Employees are still doing essential tasks, Mr. Mayor, meaning the pump stations are still being maintained. If their water main breaks, the water main breaks are being repaired. So we still have full services. It's just certain programs, such as the pothole program, was suspended temporarily, but we still have things moving along. And like I said, we are going through a phase-in process and making sure that our employees are protected and they have the proper PPE on a daily basis to kind of do the job. And I'll let Mr. Austin speak on it a little bit more.
Yes, along the lines of what the manager just said, we were just trying to limit exposure. The individuals that we're referring to, other than the essential services for water and wastewater services, are the general public works folks, the guys that pick up the litter and keep the streets in shape, including grass cutting. For those individuals, especially 1 day a week, we have to stop. It's 4 individuals to do the food drive. And then we also have to continue with the maintenance of our right-of-ways in a 4-hour period. We did not want to, until the manager gives me the word, to ramp up the hours of those operations. We only have a 4-hour window of opportunity to get these things done.
That's my confusion.
Mayor, oh, sorry.
My confusion is that we have, like, for example, I work currently right now 8-hour days because I got to work. And there's plenty of work that needs to be done in the city when it comes to public works. So, and like you said, there's still other services that need to be done. So there's more than enough work to go around. Why aren't they working? And you say it's personal protective equipment. Are you saying we don't have 4 masks for employees to work for a full day, or like they take a mask off at half a day? Like how does, I'm confused about the applying PPE to public works on half a day if they get it for that day, but I'm confused.
I understand, Mayor. Mr. Austin, can you elaborate on the PPE? The rate has been coming in, and the exposure that our public works employees have been experiencing due to the COVID-19 crisis. Can you also explain that employees, not all employees have been working 4-hour days, that employees have been working extended hours? You do have employees that work 6-hour days, and some even have worked a full 8-hour day based on the activity that's going on. When we speak on 4-hour days, Mayor, we're speaking on just general policy, but because public works is essential, there are employees that are working more than 4-hour days based on the activities that go on. So it's not 4 hours and then we're not doing anything, nobody's working, nobody's doing anything anymore. The general principle is to work 4-hour days, but because public works is essential, majority of those employees are working more than 4 hours.
So it's the policy of the city of Opa-locka during the state of emergency that non-essential employees, or all employees only working 4 hours?
This is specifically due to COVID-19. So if this is a hurricane situation, it would be totally different. Because of COVID-19, because of social distancing standards and PPE requirements for employees, I had to push a lot of the resources, a lot of the PPE to the police department, right? Because those are your frontline guys that are out there. So when I get these resources in, I have to push them to the police department. If we get extra, just like we just got a shipment on Monday, we start distributing to other departments. We started distributing to administrative staff, which was the reason why we closed the city hall for 2 weeks, because we did not have the PPE available. And there is, and then due to the infection rate within the city. So these are a lot of decisions that a lot of my counterparts have made in regards to this. So this is just not like a rogue decision that's made. There is a methodology, a thought process that's developed when these decisions are made. But we are, to address your concern, we are moving into a phased in process where public works, as well as every other employee, will either be working, if they're full-time, they're working 8-hour days, and if they're part-time, they're working part-time hours. Just for this 1 month until we kind of figure things out and get the supplies in, get the protective gear in, and kind of apply and make sure our employees are safe, we kind of address it. When this COVID-19 started, the union had a big uproar in regards to the city's lack of PPE for employees. So I have to look at those liability issues as well and kind of address those. The county just released maybe 3 days ago a program where it's such a shortage of PPE where they want cities to send PPE to go in, be sterilized, and returned to use the same equipment. So there is a huge shortage of PPE. And like as I explained a couple minutes ago, we put in an order of 2,000 masks, but we're getting them in gradually. They're trickling in. We're not getting the orders in at 2,000 at a time. They're coming in as we get the items in. So to address your concerns, Mayor, I totally understand your thought process and where you're coming from in regards to the matter is being addressed. We do have the proper protective measures that are coming in for employees, and we will be extending out the workday and reprioritizing public works activities.
All right, Commissioner, I don't want to belabor this point because I know there's quite a few others. Commissioner Kelly?
No, I'll leave that alone because I mean, you're kind of saying page on that issue. So the manager said he's addressing it. I want to move on to a couple of things. We don't have much time here, if I could.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Manager, I'm gonna go quickly. So if you can't answer, you can always give it to us because I know we're pressed for time. You mentioned about some of the things, the challenge you're having. Well, challenge the police department mentioned about curfews and all of that, and buildings and apartment security. I'm going back because you've had several situations in some of these apartment complexes that, in my opinion, their security should have been on top of before we got there. I've been saying this for the last few months, and it still keeps coming up, whether it's a shooting, or it's the fight, that you had to deal with. But it's still, things keep coming up that, in my opinion, the local security within those complexes should be managing or doing a better job. So I would hope at some point, you, the chief, or you're going to come back and say to us that it's not working. I've been told by folks over there that, for example, in the Blues and even over in the Cordova, the other complex, we have a lot of challenges, that there's no real security over there. Somebody's over there, but it's not real security, and we know about it. I don't know what real means, but that's a concern to me because when I look at these reports and watch some of the incidents that are occurring, they're repeat situations. So you need to, in my opinion, deal with that. You mentioned about the masks, so I won't get into that other than the fact you mentioned about the stores, and I did see some correspondence. But one of the concerns I have, and I'm gonna just be straightforward with you, the enforcement or whatever you want to call it, at some of these stores and with our folks, is just not occurring. The last 2 days in itself, I've watched folks walking down the street with no mask, going in stores with no mask. A sign, for example, in our city that says, we hope you wear a mask or something like that for your safety. Other places, other cities, no mask, no entry. I mean, it's real cut and dry. We need to do a better job of our numbers are not going to go down. They're not going to go down. So we need to really get a handle on that, in my opinion. And I know you're out there, I see the reports where no arrests were made and you're talking to folks, but folks are not listening. And if I see that, 4 or 5 folks congregated at the bus stop, 2 or 3 in front of the store, I watch folks even today earlier going into one of our stores, no mask, just walked in, no mask or anything. I went up the street into the county to a store. They went to the door. It was a sign that said no mask or entry. They went back to their car and got the mask. I mean, at some point, we have to just help our folks, whether it's businesses, and I don't know who's responsible. You said code enforcement and the police department both are kind of addressing that. But I have real concerns. I get a lot of calls from residents that are very concerned about folks going into stores, going into establishments, and the businesses are not making them adhere to it. But then when we come around, I guess they, tighten up. But they have to understand this is very serious because this is going to be the new norm. I mean, these mask wearing is not going to go away. Maybe the gloves might go away, but the mask is not going away. And they need to adhere to that. They need to adhere to that because it's going to be around. You mentioned also about the financial challenges, et cetera, and the orders that the county and the state have put in. At some point, do you plan to present to the commission some kind of financial analysis? I think I heard you say you can kind of sustain this until mid-May or early May. And then after that, you got to make some decisions. So I'm going to assume that at some point before that moment, you're going to get us some documents, some numbers, some whatever, or projections of why you're going to do or what you're projecting to do for us to weigh in on that. Regarding the food distributions, real quickly, I think we're in the city doing a great job, but I do have a concern with some of the distributions that are not, that's not with the city. Not that they're doing it, but it's causing, in my opinion, a strain on our police staff. I know we had the one there Tuesday, and then the whatever it is, whatever that flight, the Hood or whatever, did one, and I noticed officers over there, but I think they're regular officers. I don't think overtime or anything. That's a cost, because I've had residents who said they call the police, and the police response time has been a lot slower, especially on certain days. And I know that's apparently, I guess, one of the challenges we have. That needs to be addressed. That really needs to be addressed, in my opinion. Also, with regards to the reimbursement, Mr. Mayor, to the manager, you said everything is not reimbursable. I understand that. At this point, the expenditures that we've expended, have most of them, percentage-wise, 75, 80, whatever, are they reimbursable? Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
to the manager.
Through the mayor.
Hold on. Before we respond, because we only got 10 more minutes to our special commission meeting, and I want to make sure that all the commission are able to respond. So if Commissioner Kelly, you can finish your thoughts, Mr. Manager, please note the concerns of Commissioner Kelly.
No, I'll stop right there.
Yeah, I want to get
I'll allow everybody else. I'll stop right there.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Burke or Vice Mayor
Mr.
Davis.
Mayor,
Commissioner Burke.
Commissioner Kelly, you can go ahead. You can go ahead on my time, Commissioner Kelly.
I know we only got a couple of minutes, and I'll get the rest to them.
Hold on, Commissioner. Hold on. Vice Mayor Davis, you have anything?
Mr. Mayor, just wanted to, I guess, talk about the mask and I guess where we are with that, because that seems to be a major hurdle in getting things done. Mr. Manager, I know we discussed a few meetings back about potentially upping the quantity of the order to potentially, reach out and get more of an order in. Have we done any of that or reached out to any cities in regards to for more PPE?
So
during distribution.
Hold on, because Commissioner Kelly still have a question, but I want Vice Mayor, if you can go through all your thoughts, because we have 9 minutes until we finish the 8 minutes now until we start the special commission meeting. I have some things I want to also go over too. So I want to make sure that we, at least everybody gets their thoughts out so that the manager can respond accordingly.
Okay, so aside from the personal protection equipment, also I heard testing, and I think we all pretty much acknowledge that testing is a priority. In addition to testing, I would also like for us to, I've seen other cities such as the city of Hialeah and the city of North Miami Beach. They have been able to do some creative things with the CRA. I know they've been issuing, I think, $1,000 housing assistant grants or loans that are forgivable or something through their CRA. And I do understand that we have to allocate a significant amount of money towards testing, but just throwing that out there as an idea for consideration in addition to testing. Other than that, that's the end of my my thoughts, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, and Commissioner Bass, do you have anything else? All right. So very quickly, I asked for the manager to ensure
Mr. Mayor. Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, I yielded my time to Commissioner Kelly. Since you're not going to let Commissioner Kelly use it, then I will use my time. Come on now. I yielded my time to Commissioner Kelly, and then you just took it away. Okay, through the mayor to Mr. Manager.
Commissioner Burke, go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Manager, I don't know how true this is, but I'm hearing from the school crossing guards that are out in the parks that they get one mask and one pair of gloves per week. Is that true?
All right, Commissioner Burke, if you could release all your thoughts, so that the manager can respond.
No, that's the only question I have.
All right, that's the
That's
only
the only
question.
question I have.
Okay, all right, so I'm gonna run through mines, and then we have questions from Commissioner Kelly, Vice Mayor Davis, and Commissioner Burke. Matter of fact, I will reserve my thoughts to the special commission meeting, because some of them are rest of that. So, Mr. Manager, if you can address the commission concerns with our 6 minutes in this workshop, that'd be great.
So to address Commissioner Kelly's main concern as far as reimbursable funds, the staff time, the 40 hours of staff time that's been provided is not reimbursable. But all overtime, any time that exceeds 40 hours, all overtime that's been expended by the police department, any meals expended, any supplies expended, mask, PPE, signage, infrastructure related matters related to COVID-19 are all reimbursable. Both Mr. Austin and our budget director have been or are going to be going to training shortly in regards to FEMA guidelines and related to COVID-19. And as time goes on, there are other monies that are going to come available in regards to cities requesting assistance, financial assistance. Right now, as I've told you, we're waiting on seeing what the state of Florida's distribution will be and what's going to go down to the counties, and the smaller cities really have to bide their money from the counties. As you know, the legislature has not authorized any funds to go into any municipal organization under 500,000. So we're literally in a bidding war eventually with the county and getting additional funds released.
Yeah, a question from Vice Mayor Davis and Commissioner Burke.
Vice Mayor Davis, as far as masks are concerned, we are due to this new mask order that was just issued on Wednesday that the commission will be ratifying at a special meeting. We will be ordering 30,000 masks in the coming days. When we get that order in, that's the biggest concern, because there's a shortage of masks, but what the city will do is due diligence to order 30,000 masks, attempt to distribute masks to residents, maybe during food giveaways, or if officers see individuals in need on the street. So we'll start doing outreach in regards to that as that is concerned. As far as the CRA, use the CRA funding to kind of support the COVID-19 efforts, it is allowed. The CRA budget has to be amended, has to go before the CRA board, and the CRA board has to make those decisions in order to either provide funds to the city to deal with COVID-19 related matters that are happening in the CRA area and other issues that occur. And any special stimulus related programs that you guys want to do that requires legislation and kind of getting vetted through the attorney, but there are some potential possibilities there as well.
Commissioner Burke's concern?
Through the mayor, Chief Dobson, can you answer that question that Commissioner Burke had in regards to crossing guards utilizing equipment? Are they getting one mask instead of gloves per week? How is that working?
No, sir. That supervisor has been provided enough masks for each crossing guard to include the supervisor to have a packet of 5 masks, 5 to 10 masks per week, and also gloves. And they've been issued that on Mondays, I think on Mondays. But they're definitely not 1 mask per week. No, sir. We have ample enough masks and gloves for all the crossing guards.
Okay.
All right, thank you. As we conclude this, I wanted to briefly go through some of the priorities I related to the manager earlier this week or last week. Actually, probably last week.
It was last week, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, last week in regards to COVID-19. A few things that I may want to make sure that we are getting as a city from staff and management. Number one is daily data tracking the rate and location of infections throughout the city of Opa-locka. The execution of a testing facility that can test at least 100 residents per day in the city of Opa-locka. If we can do more, that'd be great. Clear and simple daily messages to the people of Opa-locka related to COVID-19 using all of our channels, social media, code red, and emails as it can come up. Rapid execution of emergency orders based upon the latest information. As you know, the Miami-Dade County and the state have been releasing things, and we need to do something a little differently with the city. I want to make sure that we are on top of that. Daily updates on the enforcement of emergency orders so we can get an understanding of how the city and the people and businesses are responding and where are the issues. A centralized web page with all the city's emergency orders, messages, and activities in response to COVID-19. So that as we talk, we can send our residents to one place and they can get all the information they need to stay engaged and be on top. A centralized coordination of all city activities in response to COVID-19. I'm hoping that we have some type of working group that is meeting on a regular basis to coordinate all the activities, including the food drives that are happening throughout the city. A development of an online engagement strategy for the children of Opa-locka. Some people dealing with homeschool or whatever. I will hope that we can try and do something to that effect. Development of some type of virtual healthy living activities that we can go on. I know we have parks and recreation that are home right now, and I'm hoping that we can either allocate the funding we have for special events or something of that nature to do some type of virtual engagement. Making sure that all children, seniors, and people in Opa-locka have access to fresh food. The identification of the amount of funding available to respond to the state of emergency and a list of priorities for that funding. That's very important that we know how much we do have to spend during this time. The establishment of a central call center using the city's phone number to track citizens' concerns and direct them to appropriate sources of assistance. And lastly, tracking wellness calls and resources provided to seniors during this pandemic. Over the course of the past few weeks, I've been in constant coordination with the county in regards to ensuring that we get testing first to our seniors at the very, very, very least, but hopefully the establishment of a walk-up facility. There's some progress has been made on that. Just recently, the center at Amelia Earhart Park, there was, I guess, a glitch or something that happened to where whenever you put in 33054, there was no available appointments. That has been addressed, and now it is open to everyone to go in. And also Miami-Dade, Hard Rock has also released their restrictions too. So anybody's going to come. So those two current testing facilities close to the city of Opa-locka have opened up. And now we're trying to get one within the city of Opa-locka. So that concludes my report. I'm hoping that moving forward in these discussions, we can tackle some of these issues. I would strongly encourage the commission to send a list of priorities to the manager and also for staff to think about ways in which we can address these issues so that we are staying on top of this as a city. So I want to thank everybody for today. I guess I can, Madam Attorney, are we, Madam Clerk, whichever one can answer this question, are we required to start the special commission meeting right now, or can I at least have some closing thoughts from everybody?
Mr. Mayor, it is scheduled for 6:30, and technically you're required to start your special commission meeting at the time that it's noticed.
All right. So do I have a motion to adjourn this workshop?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Kelly,
Second.
second by Vice Mayor Davis. Thank you very much. This recording is on YouTube. We're going to adjourn this meeting and get right into our special commission meeting. Thank you very much.